Welcome back to my mini-verse. First, thank you to all my patrons. Thank you for your support of my humble channel and for your comments and encouragement. Little channels like mine don't make any money from YouTube, so your help and support means everything to me. With the help of my patrons, I was able to get a lapel mic, so hopefully the sound quality is a little better now. Please let me know. This project, which I call the Temple of Peace, was a reaction to some of the things going on in the world. I wanted to attempt to create something beautiful. Sometimes I feel I've been on the planet too long, and I'm just tired of the negativity of humanity. It's exhausting. Hate makes people stupid. I also feel it is easy to create ugly, grimy, dirty, rundown, macabre, horrific shit. Pretty much anybody can do it. Ugly is easy. Beauty is difficult. Now, I'm not claiming that anything I've made is beautiful. It's not for me to say. It is up to the viewer of my work to decide that. And I know that some will like what I make and some won't. It's part of the journey. I have to let go of the steering wheel. What I mean by that is letting go of my expectation of an outcome and just letting everything be exactly as it is. To some degree, this piece explains what art means to me. I made this as an emotional response to larger events. Events I have no hand in, no way to influence, but still a witness through my screen. It makes me heartsick to see what humans do to each other. Some of the conversation over Thanksgiving revolved around the question of what is art, what is beauty. Of course, it's all subjective, but my personal conclusion is that making ugly things is easy and making beautiful things is hard. Being a person of years, I've enjoyed my share of the grimdark universe, but ultimately these stories are dead ends. I've grown weary of the grimdark. As a spectator of the madness in the world, I felt the strong need to do something positive in my own life to create this temple of peace. Making the temple was medicine. I had imagined tall ornate windows that glowed from within, curving arches reaching upward to the sky. I started by making a rough sketch of what I imagined. I didn't really know how I was going to build it. I know most crafters and diorama artists I follow don't meticulously plan out their projects. But for me, it actually saves time to have a sketch to work from, and it keeps me on track. I also relish the challenge of bringing a sketch to life. This project did change a little bit from the sketch as I got into the building process. I scaled back the ornate details of the windows for one. I had thought of making the intricate windows using a laser cutting service, but ultimately cut the design by hand, mainly as a way of saving money. A laser cut sheet can cost me about $60 or more, depending on the complexity. In the end, the hand-cut paper had a lot more heart, and that is how it should be. Each window took me about 45 minutes to cut. After I cut the wall pieces using the templates as a guide, I glued the walls together in layers and nested the towers into each other. Layering is a great way to create depth and detail on a model. My first inclination for the windows was to make them see-through, but I ultimately decided on tracing paper to back the windows so that I wouldn't have to detail the interior. Making the interior detail visible would have taken another week or two. The tracing paper really does help with creating the diffuse glow I was looking for. As for the lights themselves, I was gifted a box of string lights a couple of years ago. And hey, they were free, so I'm using them. They work. If you've been following our projects, you know I've gotten a lot of mileage from string lights. The paper I used is museum mounting board. It's the material that you see as the neutral backdrop for exhibits. It has a soft white color and is slightly luminous when lit from behind and gives a beautiful glow. And in the end, I like the effect so much I did not paint the exterior of the temple at all. True story, I found the museum mounting board in a dumpster. Yeah, I get some of my art supplies out of dumpsters. Not many channels can say that. Even my turntable is homemade. It's a cardboard disc that I cut out and set on an acrylic revolving display base. The only downside is that you can see my hand turning the base, but that might just be part of the charm of my presentation. This is definitely a high-speed, low-drag operation. Here at Jack's Minis, we take pride in doing amazing things with almost nothing. The scale of the temple is 1/160th. A human figure stands about a ½ inch tall. I hope to do more structures at this smaller scale in the future. Let me know what you think about that. If I had made the temple at my usual 1/48 scale, the temple would be 3 feet and 9 inches tall. That would be an epic structure on the gaming table. While I claim to be some sort of artist now, I will always have my roots in gaming. So even though I make art pieces, I like to think you could play with them and use them in a game if you wanted to. That idea has a lot of appeal to me. I think art should be playable, not just sit on a pedestal, hang on the wall, do nothing. Many of the crafters I follow are legitimate artists, and I think making miniatures is an underappreciated talent. In a world where AI is shitifying art, I appreciate people that work with their hands even more. As I like to say, AI don't craft. Making a project for myself versus making a project for a video is different. I'll admit I am still trying to figure it out. Still trying to find that balance between interesting, meaningful, at least to me, and getting it done in a reasonable amount of time. It's not easy for an introverted loner, but here I am. Over the course of making and editing these videos, I have learned that it takes about 3 weeks to finish a project. Though some of my posts are not fully finished, I'll admit. As Adam Savage says, projects are never finished, they are abandoned. And I will admit that my video editing process is my least favorite part, but it is part of the business. And I am also struggling with the short attention span of modern humans, living in the TLDR, or too long, didn't watch mindset. What's the rush? As creators, we distill 20 or 30 hours of time down to 9 minutes, and people still can't be bothered to set aside time to watch a video. Okay. I'm also aware that some of my presentation can be pretty dry, but that's another thing I'm working on. I find it hard to be intentionally funny in my videos. I actually have a good sense of humor, and you get a beer in me and I can be pretty funny. Makes me wonder if drunk crafting might be a thing. There's drunk history, so why not getting hammered and using super glue? Could be fun. What's the worst that could happen? You might glue your drink to your hand, which means you'll never spill it. Win-win. At one time I was ready to give up art, and I was seriously considering getting out of the art thing altogether, getting rid of all of my art supplies, just throwing it all in the trash because it was never going to go anywhere. It was never going to make any money. I was struggling financially and started thinking that art was a waste of time. I remember reading something that stuck with me though. It was about following your drive. In short, it pointed out that even if I stopped doing art, stopped making things, that I would still be thinking about creating. I'd still be thinking about doing some project. I would wake up thinking about wanting to make something. I realized that even if I didn't own any art supplies, I'd still be thinking about making things with those art supplies. I'd still be thinking about art. And that's when I knew I had to keep going on this path, wherever that would lead. What does it mean to be an artist when we live in a time when art is cheap and easy, disposable? My response to those thoughts is this temple piece. The most gratifying part of this project has actually been the reaction of people that I've been able to show it to in person. Their enjoyment of it has really, it's maybe a little bit selfish to think that I made this because I want other people to think it's cool. But no, I really did this as a personal project. I mean, they're all personal projects, but the response from people around me has been very gratifying. I feel like their response lets me know I was on the right track with this. So, if you like what I do, consider throwing me some support. If you have commitment issues, you can support me on Ko-fi, buy me a coffee. And if you have any inclinations for things you'd like to see me make in the future, please let me know. My channel is like public radio. It is listener supported. Peace out.